They're like in space or something. Uh, wait for Robert to. There we go. But things like living systems in the soil, just something like earthworms, and we know they are vultures of the soil. They clean up the soil for us. They can process toxic chemicals out of the system and pass through with their castings, and we can turn those castings into fertilizer. It's clean fertilizer, but less earthworms, less aeration in our soil, less bugs in our soil because we killed them all. And then we're so susceptible to drought. We've learned this over the last few months in Alabama, where it's been so dry, or things aren't growing because we have been starved of water, not just from coming above, but what's in the soil. So those are some decreases. Some increases we see are fruit rot, root rot. We're dealing with a root rot issue, we think, in our one of our fruit orchards at New Water. We're trying to treat that and get it back on the right. We've got pest problems, pressure from pests, more problematic issues with pests. That's just not just bugs, but that's funguses and all kinds of other bacteria and stuff that are there, and which result in plant wilting, leaf discoloration, obviously less production. So decreasing the good stuff, increasing the bad stuff is what these practices have left us with. So David Montgomery and Ann Bickley, his wife, wrote a book, What Your Food Ate, and this great quote, "How we treat the land affects how it in turn treats us." And that's a really good stewardship idea. Not necessarily we're going to live off the land, but we're going to live with the land. And you can think when you are in right relationship with someone, life is much more pleasant, even in the hard times. And that's what we're seeing here. When we've abused our land, when we've taken it from a domination standpoint, this is what we're getting back. It's not treating us well because we have in turn treated this gift poorly. Franklin Roosevelt, I've said this before, and at the backside of the Dust Bowl in 1937, wrote a letter to all the governors of the states, and he led with this: "A nation that destroys its soil destroys itself." And that was right at the forefront of what was happening. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and they were talking about 25% of the world soil lays bare. A fourth of the soil lays bare globally. And that's, in the grand scheme of time, is a new thing. That's not the way that it was. These giant deserts now that exist, that's not always been the case. And we know there are practices that we can do to reverse that. If you watch the movie To Which We Belong or Common Ground, they feature the Chihuahuan Desert that is grasslands now. And it's flourishing because they put these practices of regenerative agriculture into place. So there's hope. There's hope out there. We're not just going to wave our hands and give up. Documentary Kiss the Ground. Soil is the beginning of the quality of food. It all begins in the soil. When you have great soil, you have great food. And Deborah's going to share some of that with us today, what she's seeing early on in this growing season. So excited about that. So these are some best practices for healthy soil. This is the regenerative platform. I left one out because we're not able to do it at New Water necessarily, but cover crops, compost, building that organic matter in the soil, covering the soil so we don't have carbon and water loss, evapotranspiration. We're going to minimize soil disturbance. We're going to practice no-till practices. There may be times where we have to disturb that soil to break up hardpan or to get it ready for a seed bed. This is not an absolute, you can't disturb the soil. It's not what we're saying here. This is all about context. And so you've got to put these things in the practice that works for you. But there is a great principle here of the minimization or no introduction of synthetic pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and fertilizers. I always said before, anything ends in an IDE is bad. Think genocide, homicide. Yeah, that's what those words are there for. And then the fourth one here is a living root in the ground year round. And the reason that's important is to support the water and the carbon and the photosynthesis cycle. So when you've got a living plant, it's capturing carbon and nitrogen and changing those amino acids into sugars for the plant and the soil benefit. So it's really the plant that feeds the soil, not the other way around. I mean, you got to have soil for the plant life, but the plant is feeding that soil by doing what it was designed to do. So it's bringing those elements out of our atmosphere through photosynthesis, and root exudates putting it out into the soil. So that's very important. But also we see about mimicking nature is biodiversity. Lots of different plants and animals, bugs, and all those things living in harmony with one another. And I never thought I would say that. I thought it was all about domination. So I'm a disciple. Yeah, I'm a disciple of all this because it's changed how I view things and how I actually practice things, how New Water's practicing things. So, different crops have different nutrient needs. And so if we just planted the same thing in the same spot year after year after year, we would be depleting that soil of those nutrients. And so by moving those things around, they're taking different nutrients at different times out of the soil, also putting things back in. So we move our crops around. We move them around, and we promote plant diversification. And Leo and Matthew corrected me the other week. He said it's not just species diversification; it's family diversification. So it's the gamut of the plant system. You've got to have diversification, and that promotes diversification in your let's say the neighborhood, your environment that you're growing in. So you should start seeing more different kinds of bugs and birds and all kinds of stuff. We're seeing more birds activity at New Water. We're seeing more bug activity at New Water, good and bad, which is what you want because that's a system. The one that's not on here is the integration of livestock. I love Gabe Brown, wrote this book, Dirt to Soil. He says animal integration and bugs and butterflies count. Like, yes, we can check all 6 off the box. So, but yeah, I mean, some folks can't bring in cattle and hoof animals into their system, but you can bring bugs and butterflies in through your perennial gardens. And our good friend Robert Mackey heard a great talk in meeting this week about the benefit of pollinator species, otherwise known as bees. So more about that later. But just kind of you've seen these things in 2025. We had an outbreak of yellow rust. We're still fighting it big time, and it's one block in particular, blackberries, and I think it's just where it is that we're fighting this. But we had a big fungal outbreak. We took our old canes out, treated the new plants, and they were clean. And then it just started coming back again about right now. So we're trying several different products, magnesium. We're using a organic copper fungicide. I don't like to use that a lot. And then we're also using a biologic called pinyon, which is citric acid and cinnamon. So it smells great when you're spraying it on the plants. So we don't know that hasn't changed the taste of the blackberry though. It hasn't done that, but we're trying to knock it back, and we're doing some other things too with some soils to make sure our soil is in a healthy perspective. Highlight some of these, just different things. We've talked about these before. Sunflower that Scotty planted from seed, direct seed into the same garden area, if you will, but the difference of the untreated and the treated, or I would say 100, everything is 100% doubled. So at 35 days of growth, you've only got a 15-inch height of a plant versus a treated, a 27-inch height. So basically doubling the height. The one on the left, the untreated, no flowers. The one on the right, flowering at 35 days, which is probably half of when you would normally expect it. So much bigger growth, better growth, healthier plants, earlier flowering. So it's just a great testimony to the magnesium and the NutriPlant. So that's sunflowers. And I read the things that you should always have sunflowers. You should always have sunflowers, and they're easy and they're pretty, and they bring in the bees. This one I like too because here's a transplant that we grew from seeds and planted on the same day in a pot, same soil. Everything's the same here, but treated with magnesium soil drench foliar sprays and NutriPlant 643 on the right, and then the one on the left, you can see the difference there. It's doubled in size. So when you get doubled in size, you expect at least double the yield. And this is pennies on the dollar, really, what you're looking at. And then the 7 bushel wonder Better Boy tomato plant, a hybrid plant. After 90 days, Scotty quit counting at 350 tomatoes. One plant, one season, 350 tomatoes. So let's just say, you're going to go to the local farmer's market and sell your tomatoes. You got one plant that made 350 tomatoes over that season. So a lot of times what happened, our experience last year was we sold tomatoes for about 3 or 4 weeks and then we were out. We were done. We weren't using this system. But you've got tomatoes for a long time. So where do you think the customers are going to go at the farmer's market? They're going to go to the guy with the tomatoes, right? Maybe Scott. So this is a great way to not just increase your yield, but consistently have yield throughout the growing season. Same thing with the bell peppers. Okay, so this is becoming the standard that everybody's shooting for now, Scotty. That on the right, treated with magnesium, 325 bell peppers. Okay, so we had a wild idea at Newwater. Why don't we plant like 75 bell pepper plants and treat them with magnesium? So I don't know what we're going to do with all the peppers, but you need a pepper, call Leo. He can hook you up. But I mean, this is this goes. I kind of joke about that. Just think about what this could do to speak into food deserts and food insecurity. Because I could grow this in a pot. I don't have to have a garden. I could grow one plant, 325 bell peppers, squash, tomato, whatever you want to pick, whatever you want to grow. And now I can distribute that in my neighborhood or have, folks that don't have access to that kind of healthy, nutrient-dense food. They've got that right there in my neighborhood. So this is a way to contextualize this to where it's really a game changer. So just a little bit of magnesium, 325 fruits versus 15. And the 325 didn't all come in at once, right? It was over a longer season. So you've got consistency of yield across a longer period of time, which is really good. So you're not having to store this, freeze this, process it. I mean, it's fresh. It's available. So the bell pepper, Scotty Mangrum standard, right? We're all following it, right? Yeah. And then, let's back up a bit. And so I was interested in germination of some heirloom seeds. What's the effect of magnesium on it? So I did a 24-hour seed soak on these seeds and then planted them. And then after, I think this is probably 3 weeks or so, randomly pulled them out. So the 3 on the left are untreated. They just had water on them in a growing medium. And you can see not nearly as developed, a lot less volume. But the 3 on the right had the seed treatment and much more root mass, root volume, longer roots. And then those were all curled up inside the little cell. So, just think if you had that in the soil, after 21 days, your root system is that deep. Think about water access, strength of stalk, resistant of wind. I mean, you just build a much healthier system. So that was just a simple seed soak. And Deborah's going to talk some about that. She practiced this summer too. So just real quick, we talked about this, greater root mass can produce stronger stalks, better nutrient uptake because it's more surface area. And because of that, it's going to be more resistance to things like bugs and pests and diseases and all that good stuff. So a much healthier plant that produces larger fruit, more flavorful fruit, greater budding. So, more density of buds, but also uniformity of buds. And as we said earlier, longer over time producing buds. So Scotty's picture of that bell pepper plant, it had peppers on there, but it had additional blooms. A lot of times they produce 1, maybe 2 fruit sets, and then they're done blooming. The blooms continue. And he's got another picture to show an update there. But just, much better quality of fruit. And then obviously the harvest, 17 to 400% more fruit. Those are just a very broad range. But also the story of our friend Carl down in Robertsdale spraying magnesium on his muscadines. He's got 4 separate fruit sets, not just one fruit set, 4 separate fruit sets. So his production went into post-frost, which is a little unheard of with muscadines. And then a decrease in loss of fruit. Tom Strickland tells a story about the strawberries with magnesium stayed in the refrigerator. They still probably wouldn't be there today, but his wife ate them all. But over 3 weeks in the refrigerator without succumbing to a rot, which the store bought after a couple of days, you throw them in the compost pile. So for 2026, I want to introduce you to New Water Assistant Farm Manager Leo Walter. He's going to come up and talk about an experiment he's trying to see if we're all nuts or not. So you can just click the left.
Gotcha. All right. So for those who don't know me, I'm Leo, Assistant Farm Manager at New Water. Okay, you got a slide. The goal, we created raised beds using an old 325-gallon tote, split it in 2 parts with straw compost placed in each bottom. Each portion filled with the screen, topsoil, sand, and organic compost. You should have sent me this before, but it's good. Yeah, this is basically what we did with the totes. One was treated with magnesium, 24 parts per million soil drench, and foliar application. Yeah. So on May 1st, they a couple weeks after planting. This is the day of application. If you look to the left side, the untreated, you see a lot of yellow leaves, and as well as here too. Yeah, you got this right. The one we treated, it's got a shallow soil depth, and the untreated doesn't. We got a lot of different prints in here. In the treated, we got tomatoes, basil, marigolds, and some Thai and cayenne peppers. Thanks to Ryan back there. Same thing on the untreated as well. A lot more tomatoes and peppers in that one as well. This is yesterday actually. You see, we've got rid of a lot of the yellow leaves over here on the treated side, but the untreated side still struggling a little bit over there. They're all water treated the same thing. The only difference is the magnesium on this side. We also use the pelletized chicken fertilizer on both. Yeah.
They put the tomatoes on the untreated side of the top.
Yeah.
Tomatoes on the treated side.
Let me go around. Yeah, so if you look back here in the back, these are a little swingy, not a lot of foliage or greenery on them, lacking a little bit. And you look over here, they're not as tall, but they do have a lot of leaves and a lot of green on them. Yeah. Even the basil, you look at the basil, it's right here. You got 3 plants of basil right here. And it's just huge. These 2 right here doing pretty good. But this is, I don't know what else do I have in here. These are the cayennes. A lot more green, bushy bushes that you see on the trees as well. Everything. Tomatoes, the peppers. Yeah. That's all I got.
He's just carrying magnesium and no magnesium. Everything else is the same.
Yeah.
You mentioned the compost, the chicken litter fertilizer, water, same soil. There's those side by side, and you get more consistent.
Right.
Just the only thing is different is magnesium.
Yeah, and the soil depth as well. Yeah, I like to point that out. You got a shallow bed with the magnesium, and you're getting better results. But So I guess it's time to introduce Miss Deborah Clay. Let her take it from here.
So Bill, do you want to introduce that?
Oh, Lord.
So this advanced slide.
Be on this side? Okay. That's everybody. Said most.
Yeah, we've got one of our first guest speakers outside of the core group, the core presentation team. And Debbie, I'll start with the military part. Debbie was in the child of the Army called the Air Force. And she was an amazing Air Force airman. I want to say airman, but I can't say it.
Sarge.
I'll just call you a sergeant. I won't get into the gender stuff. So Debbie is an amazing person. She was an instructor at the Eastwood Christian School. She was a teacher. And she got involved with this operation here not too far back. I think she started with what we're doing about December. So she's come a long way and she's accomplished a lot. So at this point, I'll call her Sergeant Debbie Clay, because I like calling people by their military title. If they don't have one, I'll give them. Thank you, Debbie.
Appreciate you. Just go ahead and let you know a little bit about myself. I'm not a farmer. Now I am a gardener, but I have only been gardening really for 8 years now. And my grandfather was a farmer. My mother was a gardener, and it kind of got lost, but I'm kind of glad because my grandfather was that old fashioned tilling person. So I just want to let y'all see what's happening here. Everything that I have planted has been soaked for 48 hours. The seeds were soaked. Everything was done from seed. Now, some of them I started back on between the 20th of February to the 26th of February inside my house in a little teeny tiny greenhouse in my house. Next year, I'm going to have one outside by the time winter gets here, because I'm not going to do it the way that I did it this year. I did soil blocking, and that was the first time I'd ever done that. Well, everything outgrew the soil blocking, and I had to transplant it. Like around the 30th of March, I just had to transplant it into other pots, which I thought was going to really stunt the growth. And it did a little bit, but it actually, as you'll see in some of these pictures, made everything much better. So I'm glad I went ahead and did it. So, all right, this was on the 20th of February, and this is where you can see it's soil blocked. All right, and here, this is mostly tomatoes, different types of tomatoes that I just wanted to have a variety. And on the February 24th, I walked by and it blew my mind. I went, what is going on? Because I've never had my seeds come up that fast. And I promise you, it's dated on this phone. You can look at it on my phone if you want to. But I just blew my mind. Not everything came up, but those tomatoes were popping up very rapidly. And then that was March 5th. And I was like, they're starting to kind of stunt. The ones that did come up, I was like, I really need to. But I mean, this is from the 20th to the 5th.
The left side of the baby.
No, see, I did. That's one of the things you're going to find here. I'm a gardener. I don't have the ability. I'm sorry. I'm not going to plant a bunch of stuff and do the comparisons that y'all did. So you're not going to get to see major comparisons. But I'm just me standing here telling you, my seeds have never come up this fast. Okay, and like I said, how many of y'all had seeds come up in 4 days? Planted them, and on the 4th day they were this tall. You know, it blew my mind. Okay. So he said, I don't have the comparisons that y'all do. That was just different stuff. And I'm going to tell you, the rosemary, none of that ever came up, but they were very old seeds. I did a lot of old seeds this year trying to get rid of them. So, you know, but these were about 3-year-old seeds, the ones that are up on the tomatoes. I'm really want to get rid of my old ones. And I'm glad I did, because I don't want them down the road. I'd rather go ahead and try them now. All right. These beds were put in. That's why you're going to see some cucumbers that I actually planted outside in different raised beds. I just built these beds this year, and I was waiting. I think on the 18th, I started putting them together. So these are those tomatoes that you just looked at. Now, this was transplanted on April 29th. I actually, on the 30th of March, transplanted everything into little 3-inch pots, and then now transplanted again. And like I said, I soaked all of them. And then in this, I didn't do what I should have. So this would tell you what would they have looked like if I had done things properly. I didn't soak the soil. I only had, a little bit of the product, the magnesium. I went through and sprayed them. Okay. Now, that was the day I did it, was on May 6th. I actually sprayed them. So they're not looking all that great, but they're looking a little bit better than they did, That was May 20th, not March 20th. That's May 20th. That's that same plant. I'm standing in a different direction of it. That's the same plant. Y'all, this is awesome. After I sprayed that magnesium on them, I didn't even drench the soil. I just sprayed it. And if you can't tell really well, but there's probably 8 or 9 blooms there right now. They're open today. And I took this picture yesterday. I went out today and I should have taken pictures, but they weren't going to make it up here. But they're open now. And I've never had my plants fruit this quickly, ever. And I got a late start this year because of the cold weather we've had. I didn't want to put stuff out really. I know some of it I did because it was outgrowing, as you'll see. Okay, that's that same, I came in and put this pot in there. It's a 3 or 4 inch pot. So you could see the difference in that, in less than a month, much less than a month, how well they did. Because that was what, 6 days, on the 6th is when what day say was 6th that I sprayed them. This was one of the plants that was in the soil blocking. It's calendula. And this is what I'm doing. I was trying to do, like you were talking about, diversify. All this stuff, I've got calendula and the nasturtium over here. This was in those blocked soils. That one I planted straight in. Now, nasturtium, I've never been able to get it to seed. I scratched it and soaked it for 48 hours, went out and direct planted it. And I don't remember what date. I think I've got them in here if y'all want to hear the dates. But I mean, y'all, I've never even been able to get them to grow, period, not even germinate. And I'm telling you, soaking them in that magnesium just has changed my world. There's no doubt about it. But all of these are help with the plants, the pepper plants, the tomato plants. They're all good to be with them. So I'm just shoving them in all around, all my tomato plants. And I've got a ton of the nasturtium. It just, okay, going back, I don't know how we got out. That's the calendula, the one that was big leafy. So you can see it says calendula. So I'm to not even be able to get stuff to grow to go into this. Now, the white cucumber was planted on the 26th of February. I had to this is when I showed you where it went transplanted. Look at on the 30th of March, I transplanted it. And then 5 days later, I have to look, but I think it was 5 days later on 4/8, the 8th of April, I transplanted it. And look at that root growth. I'm telling you, I have never in my life seen anything like this. And I disturbed that thing by transplanting it. Well, and then I've never been able to get them to grow, period. I planted cucumbers every year for 8 years now, and I have never been able to get them to grow. Now, this is in my old beds, my original beds from 8 years ago. The ones y'all were seeing, I said, I just put those beds in, and look how good everything was doing in those new beds. This was the day that I transplanted them. This was yesterday. And if you look close, I'm pretty sure and it's about this big today. I mean, I'm not kidding you. There, if you look close somewhere in here, you can see one of the cucumbers right there. Right there. And it's like this big today. And I took this picture yesterday. Of course, we had good rain. God's rain is always better than, for sure. But I still couldn't, y'all, I've never even been able to get those to grow, period. Now, these are the radishes that I soaked them and then direct planted them on, on April 18th. Y'all, never even been able to get radishes to grow. There is something about the magnesium. Now I've been using chicken fertilizer. I'm fixing to go, the next fertilizer I'm going to use is the NutriPlant. I just didn't have it. So I made my own from my chicken coop. So that's the fertilizer, but I have only applied it twice in the whole time because I'm kind of worried it's my own homemade stuff and I've never done that before. Everything is just green, and I'm not kidding. No, these things are huge. This is a pepper that I transplanted right there. Now my peppers have not done as well as my tomatoes this year. I think I'm telling the cold. I think the cold has something to do with it this year. Yes, sir.
Did you use different magnesiums?
No, I've used the ones I got from Scotty, and when was it? Somewhere in February or so. It was after, had to be because. No, just this one. No, I own other magnesiums, as you know, because I've been doing sprays with them, prior to learning about this. But no, the only thing I have used has been this magnesium from Agro Harvest. Yeah, no, I have not used any, but my other ones. Those have did strictly for medicinal. So I'm like y'all. I know that y'all may not get it.
I would say one thing of those, there's no.
No, not on those. I did have a little issue with, and I don't know I can't remember what they're called. They're really unique little wormy caterpillars on my grapevines. So I have a lot of pictures of stuff that we didn't put up here. My grapevines, I had grapes on my grapevines already, and I cut them back completely this year. Carl told me to go ahead and cut them because I've never done it before. And I had 4 grapevines. One of them didn't make me massacring it because they were huge. They were just vines going everywhere. I cut them way back, and I already have, and this was late. I did it late. Like I said, I shouldn't have really been cutting them. And I did kill one, but I already have grapes on them. But it's little teeny, they got little rings on them. They're really pretty little caterpillar worms. They're almost see-through. And I've looked it up and I can't remember the name of them, but they turn into these little mothy things they were eaten. There was some on there. And I just went through and squished them all. And that was the only thing I've had trouble with. I went through squishing all of them because I didn't want to spray them, and I didn't have any cayenne pepper spray made up. That's usually what I use is cayenne pepper spray if I'm garlic and cayenne, if I'm going to spray something. So I'm trying not to spray anything other than, what we're using. Like I said, I did have to fertilize those. So, but the next thing I'm going to do this week is the NutriPlant.
Maybe talk about that. Maybe talk about previously 3 or 4 years ago, what was your practice? Obviously, you didn't soak seeds.
No, I wasn't soaking seeds in anything. I was just, planting them straight in and putting them in my little greenhouse, or direct planting stuff. Most, it was about half and half, just depending on what it was, like squash and stuff like that. I've got the squash is beautiful. I've got squash, I've got zucchini, I've got stuff that I have never been able to grow out there, and it's soaked them, direct planted them, and they're up. My practice was what most people would do. I went and bought a bag of fertilizer, sprinkled it out there, and, now I didn't till anything, because everything I've got's in raised beds, but I would break it up. The back beds that you could kind of see them in some of the pictures in the background. I don't know if it's in these or the ones I sent you, but they're just a little brick, concrete block. There's one level high. And like I said, I've been putting my own compost in there, slowly building those up, and it's taken 8 years for them to get to where they're doing well. But I'm trying to turn those all into more of the perennial, where I have my comfrey, my thyme, my oregano, because I did think something stupid and planted fruit trees right next to them. And I'm new at this, okay? So I planted my fruit trees there, and they're just huge, and so there's a lot of shade there that I don't want. And I went to stay with my mother, and was their caretaker. And they got out of hand, and they got big, and I was keeping them cut back. They got out of hand, and now they provide a lot of shade. So I'm trying to put stuff back there that is shade tolerant, and like I said, perennial. I have tons of oregano, thyme, like I said, comfrey, and I plant garlic and onions and stuff. And I'm fixing to plant some more garlic. I already harvested my garlic, and I'm fixing to plant more. And you're not supposed to plant it this time of year, but I'm going to try an experiment. We're fixing magnesium, these garlic, and we're going to NutriPlant them. And they've got shade, so I think I'm going to see how they do this time of year. So, but basically, it's just the same thing that most people do. They buy the fertilizer, Miracle Grow, the different stuff, and put it on there. And I have not done that this year, and everything is doing wonderful. But it all had magnesium. And the walking Egyptian onions. Y'all, I have never, in my life, I've got 4 buckets of them sitting there dying. 5-gallon buckets shoved in there because I had to get them out of my garden. They just went crazy with that magnesium on them. Bigger than I've ever seen them. I mean, even Rita, who I got them from, she gave them to me about 8 years ago. She was like, I've never seen them get this big. They've got stalks on them like this now.
You talking about the garlic?
No, this is walking. I gave some to New Water. They're supposed to have little pearl onions on them, but those have never really done well. They get just barely big enough, and then they fall off and create another onion. They will fall to the ground and they're perennial. They keep coming back. I use them as green onions. But this year, I said, there was some so big, I'm fixing trying to see how they do. That's more like what do they call scallion? What are the big green onion, the big ones, but it's called scallions, I think, something like that. I'm fixing to try to utilize them that way just to see how they taste. They're huge.
Yeah.
You have to, and I'm telling you, if they actually have got, I said, I'll send more pictures. If you don't divide them out, they get real skinny and spindly, but there's a bazillion of them. But when I separated them this past winter, separated them out, and then I literally, to have garden space, I was just massacring them. They're sitting, I'm going to try to plant them somewhere else on my property just to not waste them. So, but like I said, the magnesium has been a big, it's a game changer for me, let me tell you. I've got a lot more pictures if anybody wants to see them. But
Mr. Scott is.
Probably right, right.
Oh, I was trying to use my natural. I use the cayenne pepper. Garlic spray. I do that regularly, but I have to do that this year. And I said, I'm sorry, so I have to get some grapes, but it's like, no, I just don't get.
That's why.
There you go. Now the calendula, it's a library. It's supposed to be a library, but it's really, they're really healthy. They look like lettuce.
So I just want to welcome everybody here. I'm Scotty Mangrum, co-founders of Agri Harvest Solution. We stumbled on this magnesium product. Bill introduced me to the creator of it, and it's gone on from there. I also have a farm. I'm a 5th generation farmer. I have a farm, a business now with Dr. Robert Brandon, Oak Hill Heritage Farm. And I wanted to show you guys, I guess, one little thing here. I get one slide today. So these are cantaloupes. This slide is of cantaloupes that we're planting. We're really focusing in on watermelon and cantaloupes this year. We planted about 1,000 watermelon plants, about 500 cantaloupes for resale. And we also have planted Jimmy Red corn, which I have treated some of the corn with this magnesium product and the NutriPlant 643. But I wanted to show you this slide because this cantaloupe, I've never seen cantaloupes bloom this early. This cantaloupe was about 12 inches long. If you look at the bloom count on it, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can see another one, 6 coming in, 7, 8. So that, for a cantaloupe to be 12 inches long and have 7 blooms clusters coming in on it, it's amazing to me. Now, this picture was taken a few weeks ago. They're now, this actual plant here, this is one of those that Robert planted in his greenhouse, but he pre-soaked the seed. So from this one, I guess that was a couple of weeks ago when I sent that to you. That is now 36 inches long and has about 30 blooms on it. Now, I want y'all to think about something. We have not had any rain to amount to anything. We went probably 3.5 weeks without a drop of rain on any of this. I was barely keeping them alive just by hand watering them with a tank. 3 seconds on each plant, just shooting water to them, just to keep them alive. We lost a lot of those plants that weren't treated because of the drought. that we were going through, and they were in a very juvenile stage at that point. Man, as soon as it rained, these plants took off. And I now have, we fertilized them with the 643 mixture with the, and I gave them another shot of magnesium. So they've been treated twice with 643 and magnesium. The first treatment was right as when they were young. And like I said, we got into that drought time. So they didn't do anything. They sat for a long time, just kind of holding their own, but barely staying alive. And I don't know how they survived, but the only way they survived was the fact that they had the magnesium on them in the roots. But now these cantaloupes are taking off. Now, typically we get 4 or 5, maybe, in a field setting. I need to just delineate between, an organically raised bed and things like that compared to out in the field. We're not throwing all this good dirt at it, and it's not in all this, souped up soil. These are just in the ground. So there's a large difference here in the bedding that they're in. But to get that many, cantaloupes, so far I've got on this plant now, I've got 6 small fruit coming on. So that's already more than I would have had on a typical plant that was not treated with anything. Typically, you're going to get 5 cantaloupes off of that one plant. That's about it. That's all I ever can get. So I've never seen this in the years. When I was a kid, this is what we grew: watermelons, cantaloupes. We had about 30 acres of watermelons that we grew. My dad and my uncle sold watermelons. So we spent our summers picking watermelons, going to farmers markets, going to Atlanta, going to Montgomery, selling truckloads and trailer loads of watermelon at the farmers market. So I've been around this a long time, and I've never seen a fruit set like this. And the watermelons are doing the very same thing. We're seeing in the watermelons an increased flower on the bloom, and I know we're going to get more watermelons from that. Now I want to dive into that, to something we've been talking about, the magnesium, and magnesium is a very key component on this. We know what the magnesium will do. The magnesium, when we apply it, especially when we apply it to the roots, the magnesium will not leach out of the soil. The only thing that will cause that magnesium to dissipate is by it going into a acidic environment. It's a pH neutralizer, so it brings the pH of the soil to a neutral state. I don't know how. I guess it was a God particle here. This fertilizer works perfectly with this magnesium product. It's like they were made for each other. The one thing the fertilizer doesn't have in it is a magnesium. But with this NutriPlant, I'm seeing, the ease. First of all, Doc will tell you, the ease of application on this is incredible. And we can foliar spray a fertilizer, a magnesium, our deer repellent, and deer repellent works, by the way. Don't let anybody fool you on this, because they love watermelons, especially in cantaloupes, especially when they're in this phase, when those fresh little runners are coming on. They'll go out there and just munch them all the way down. So don't downplay the deer repellent. It works. But the fertilizer, to me, the ease of application. So you're either going to have to side dress it. If you're going to use a granular fertilizer, you're either out there with a 5-gallon bucket or you're side dressing as you're plowing. And I don't know if you guys know what 1,000 watermelon plants look like, but it's a big area to be out there with a 5-gallon bucket hand doing. So, I don't have a side dresser because they don't even hardly make those anymore. My planter is probably 50 years old. It's as old as me. So I have to baby that thing and tinker with it to get it to work. But we planted corn yesterday all the way up till dark. But this fertilizer to me is just such an ease of being able to apply it to the plants. I can go along with my sprayer on my tractor. I'm one passing everything. And I've got my application. We did soil drench all this prior. I told you I was watering. So as I was watering, I was doing a soil drench on it. And the cool thing about the mag is it won't leach out. So I can apply all the water I want to, and it will not leach out of the soil. The foliar spray, to me, it's just, again, it's the ease of application. I get one pass. I don't know if you guys bought any diesel fuel, but it's about $5.25 a gallon right now. So when you're running a tractor all day, that adds up very, very quickly. I like the fact that I can mix it easily. They go very well together. Bill wanted me to talk more about the NutriPlant, but I'm still learning about NutriPlant. I'm still learning about the magnesium. So far, I can say this about both of them. I have not found anything that I put them on that it hasn't helped tremendously. And we got testimony right here this morning on what this stuff will do. Your raised bed experiment is very critical to what we're doing here. We can all see the difference in those plants. You lost a bunch of those that weren't treated, it looked like to me, where you still got a full bed. So, that says volumes right there. Your testimony on what you're seeing, I love to hear somebody say, I've never seen this before. But I can tell you, I've never seen this before either. I've never seen anything do what this stuff does. And the combination of the three for us works very well because we have deer roaming through our watermelon patch all the time. We have deer roaming through our, I'm putting it on our, here's the big test, peas and butter beans. I'm going to tell you right now, they'll eat them and they'll wait till they will walk by them every night and check them like we do, waiting on them to get just right to pick. And they'll go out there and wipe you out right before you pick. The cool thing about this, the NutriPlant is 100% organic. The magnesium's all natural. Hey, our bodies are magnesium deficient. So if I'm treating these plants, these fruit are taking on, right? They're taking on this magnesium, which I need, which you need. So there's a lot going on here, scientifically, I should say. I try to stay in the realm of agriculture with this stuff. It's much more than that. It's much more than that. It's a great nutraceutical also. I won't get into that today, but we will be going into that. I can a little bit. Okay. Well, let me personal experience. The last time we had a meeting, I told you guys, I said, I'm going to the beach, man. I'm looking forward to it. First day at the beach, guess what happened? My son and I got burnt. So we took a magnesium mixture and we sprayed it on ourselves and no peeling. 2 days later, no burn, nice tan. I could say that because I like to use it as a farmer because we're out in the sun all the time, and we are subject to skin cancer. And so far, every time I've had anything come up on me, and I've been in the sun my whole life. I mean, this is a permanent tan I have. It's baked in like leather. So I've sprayed it on those little places, and they've gone away and not come back. But it will dry your skin out now. Magnesium does do that. But in the agricultural setting, I think what we have here is incredible. I've never seen anything like it. I love being a part of this. I love the fact that we've got Doc in this, and he and I are now partners in a business. I never thought we were going to be doing any of that stuff. Just wow, amazing. I won't tell this story on you, Doc. So y'all have all heard the story of the term putting the cart before the horse. So Doc found a nice 4-row big John Deere planter. It takes about a 50 horsepower tractor to pull that thing. So we've got the cart, but we don't have the horse to pull it. So we're still using that 50-year-old planter, trying to get stuff planted. Anyway, all right, I'm turning it over to you, Don.
What do you think?
So that was after I came back from the beach, so it hadn't been so wait a minute. That was when I was in the process of trying to hand water them. So literally with a 40-gallon spray tank with my hand wand, as I'm driving by, I aim, squeeze, pull that trigger, 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. That's all the water it gets. Every one of those plants. And I'm on to the next one. Sir? Maybe a cup that size, maybe half of it. Not a lot. Just 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. Bam. And moving to the next plant. And that's all those plants had.
That soil, that's pretty.
Oh, it's dry as a bone. Yes, it is. So one thing we don't talk about a lot is the drought tolerance that the magnesium gives these plants. This is a prime example. So that's a very leafy, viney plant, right? A lot of leaf on that plant, a lot of vine on that plant. Look, the first thing a plant that's stressed out will do is drop its blooms. It will not bloom. It will drop the blooms immediately because the plant has to concentrate on survival, not reproduction. I need everybody to understand kind of plant basics on that. So for this plant to be in a very drought condition, to be blooming, that speaks volumes right there. I wish I had video of all that. So, because there's people that are going to doubt this, but hey, we're telling the truth here. I have no reason to lie about any of this. The picture speaks for itself. It looks like it's in the Sahara Desert is what it looks like. But we have very sandy soil at my place, which is very unique. I know people around here have heard of Sandy Creek. Well, we live at the headwaters of Sandy Creek. That's where it gets its name. So the erosion is what causes that sand to be in Sandy Creek. It comes from out where I live. We live on what they call Big Sandy, the headwaters of Big Sandy Creek. So go ahead.
Just be little things about it. Good compost in there. The rest of it's the evergreen bags with the topsoil.
Right.
So that's what I actually wrote in my house, that evergreen topsoil. That's found orderless.
So we do have, Doc will tell you, in our soil, we do have organics in it. So this land laid fallow for probably 70 years, and it was a forest. We reclaimed it to farmland. So this goes back to, I thought about this as I was planting yesterday. We talk about the organics in the soil, all right? And the old folks would tell you, oh, new ground grows much better. Well, why is that? Because the organics are still in the soil. They haven't been washed out of the soil at that point. So this is pretty much new ground. We planted on it last year. So this is the second year it's been planted. But for 70 years, this was a pine forest. We reclaimed every bit of that and turned it back into farmland. I see a growing need for more farmland. Look, we have 110 acres. We probably got maybe 10 acres under production. So we've got another 100 acres that we possibly could, not all of it. It's not all suitable for farming, but I can grow on that 10 acres what you can grow on 50 acres. Now think about that for a second. A guy like me with a little bitty tractor, I'm not burning 500 gallons of diesel fuel every time I crank a tractor up. All right. My little tractor holds about 7 gallons of diesel fuel, and I can run it pretty much all day, no matter what I'm doing, because I'm running it wide open or I'm running at the PTO level. So, for me to be able to compete, to grow and compete in a market setting, I have to have all the pluses for me that I can get, right? Because I don't have the big stuff. I'm not a big farmer. I don't, I'm not farming hundreds of acres. I don't want to get into that. But anyway, I almost went down a rabbit hole right there. But, I can grow on 10 acres what, like I said, you could grow on 50 acres. Well, that gives me an advantage. We've proven what this stuff will do to tomatoes. Look, these restaurants here, I've talked to several of these restaurants. They all want to buy our tomatoes. They're ready for them right now. Oh yeah, we'll buy tomatoes from them because they're hard to get. And the ones that they get don't taste good. These guys in these restaurants would rather use these organically grown, vegetables versus having to go and order them from some of the big suppliers that they get them from. Plus, they get a fresh supply all the time. They're not a commodity that, tomatoes won't hold long. Think about that. How long will tomatoes last, really? Ours will last a long time treated with magnesium. Go ahead, Bill.
Since we're hosted the Southern Preparatory Academy today, and you were a cadet here for a few years, you learned discipline. You know how to get inspected and pass an inspection. So go back your cadet days, pre-cadet days, your technical officer days, and you telling people like the cohort and then cohort and others. They're coming back to the picture again. What fundamentally would bring up people here would be the 1898 year back to the future, and that man is going back from times back.
That's a good point right there. I just told you that we reclaimed our land to start farming again from pine trees. Okay, so let me tell you a little brief history. Bill wants me to go back in time to when I was a kid. We're at the Southern Preparatory Academy today. They're hosting this. I was a student at Lima War Military Academy for 8 years. I graduated from this school. I came here in the 5th grade, and I graduated in 1987. During that time is when I learned how to farm. So I'm a student here. I was a day student, and I would get out of school, go home, and we'd pick watermelon. We'd farm. We had cows, so that's how I grew up from this place. This was formerly Lima War Military Academy. Today, Colonel Ransby wants to reclaim and go back to the original Southern Industrial Institute model of being able to grow for the mess hall. I guess y'all call it the dining facility now. We call it the mess hall. But for the dining facility, to be able to grow as much food as he can, which would help him tremendously with his food bill. Because, teenage boys eat a lot. Ryan can tell you that. So Ryan is in charge of the mess hall or the dining facility also. Formally, I guess you turned it over to somebody. His wife is now in charge. Okay, awesome. We now got that. But so the plan is to turn what Dr. Lyman Ward, his model and his property, he had 15 acres back there that he used for prime growing vegetables. And they've located that. So now we are going to try and assist them with New Water Farms into turning that back into productive farmland. And I think since we've gone through the process at Oak Hill Heritage Farms of doing that, I guess we would be the subject matter experts in that. I want to say this. Lima War Military Academy made me who I am. It taught me discipline. It taught me integrity, things like that. But my daddy had a lot of influence in my life. I went to school with a lot of guys who didn't have a daddy in their life. You know what I'm saying? So I thank God every day for my father's influence in my life and for teaching me what he taught me. And for this place, he sent me here. Now, but I needed to come here. In the 5th grade, in the 4th grade, I got in a little bit of trouble, and that was it, boy. I was off to military school, and it changed my life. So I'm proud to be associated with this place today and in the future as we move forward to get this process started. All it takes is money, so we're still trying to come up with that money, but money and time and hard work will get you a lot of things. Hard work and dedication will get you the most in my book. I've done a lot with a little bit of money. We reclaimed all that land with a little bit of money. We didn't spend thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to reclaim land. I'd get an excavator when I could. I'd clear some more land, and that's what we're going to have to do here. But once we can get this going, we're going to put this back into a production stage for this 15 acres back here, and we're going to assist them. And we're going not only that, we can use it as a teaching tool for these kids. I later on returned here as a TAC officer in 2010. And Nick Stonebreaker, who you've all met, who is part of our organization, was a cadet here. He came here for a summer school, and I would like to say I recruited him. But I recruited him back into school that year. And Nick is from California, so Nick couldn't go home. So I would take Nick home with me on the weekends when I was off. And he would spend summer with me and that kind of thing. And we farmed. Now Nick is picking up that torch and running with it on the farming side and in his involvement here at this place, because we all have that story to tell. Bill has it, I have it, and anyone who's ever been associated with this place can tell that story of what it does. It makes you a better person, even though you don't think it is at the time. I'm about to run out of air here, so any questions? Any more questions? Anybody got any questions for me? Oh man, I'm gonna move on here. All right, I'll finish it out. So, as you can see, you can become a beta tester, as we have testimony today of that. You can talk to me about the magnesium or Dr. Brandon. You can talk to us about the NutriPlant. Usually there's a different representative with the NutriPlant here, but I think we can handle it today. Sir? Oh, they are online, so we can call on them and we can get all that information. Let me go over what we've got. We got the magnesium hydroxide. It's what we're talking about, the MgOH2 nanoplatelets. That's the magnesium that we have been discussing. The PhotoMag is a different product that Dr. Brandon is testing. And
Well, yeah, it's not as pure as magnesium.
yeah. So we can't, really can't compare it, because one thing about the magnesium hydroxide nanoplatelets that we represent, it's the purest form of magnesium, the purest form. The PhotoMag is cut down to a lower, I don't know how you'd say that, a lower percentage, and it also has some other ingredients in it. So our preferred magnesium product is our magnesium hydroxide, not because it's ours, because of what it does. The PhotoMag is produced by Advancing Eco Ag. Let's go to the NutriPlant. It's available for immediate purchase with the network members. I'm a network member. Dr. Brandon is a network member. Bill is a network member. Ryan is a network member. I think Robert Mackey is a network member. You too can be a network member. The liquid fence deer and rabbit repellent, we purchase it at, I purchased mine from a local feed and seed store. It's a little bit cheaper right now because they've had it so long than it is at Tractor Supply, but you can pick that up at Tractor Supply. Again, do not downplay this stuff, y'all. This works. A farm is nothing without the community that it supports. I agree with that. 100%. In the old days, the community came together. I'll tell you a quick story my dad used to tell me. Every February, they would begin breaking land to plant. And the way they did that was, my grandfather had 12 mules. So he had a pretty big size operation. He had 2 or 3 wagons. What they would do is the neighbors all around who didn't have as many sons or daughters to work and didn't have as many mules to plow or as much equipment, they'd all get together. All right, and they would start breaking land together. And they would move from this farm to that farm to the next farm to the next farm until it was all done. And they did that for the breaking of the land, for the planting of the land, and then everybody was kind of on their own to take up the slack of picking all the cotton back then. That was it. Cotton was king, and that's what they grew. It's cotton. But that was the community, and we've lost community. I mean, you guys know we've lost community. Some people probably don't even know who their neighbor is in this room right here. But we have lost that. And a farm, the ability to grow food can feed people in a time when the grocery store won't have it. I'm gonna go ahead and say that, and I'm gonna leave it right there. This is an example of a community garden in Matthews, North Carolina, which I think this is awesome. And I have had the pleasure, I will say pleasure, of being involved in a community garden here at Lake Martin, the Lake Community Church. You laughed about that. But anyway, I did the irrigation for them. They're having some well issues, but I put the irrigation system in for them. And, you know, they're going to support the loaves and fishes, their own food bank. And they have a big outreach with this. So community gardens, to me, there's a community garden right down here in Camp Hill. If you come out of here, you take a left, go down, you'll see a big greenhouse down there by the church, and that's a community garden for Camp Hill. And they take care of it, and they work it right. Improve your soil with the help of our regenerative agricultural community. All right, I'm a conventional farmer. I learned the old way. And, you know, I've had to try to do a lot of mindset changing on a lot of things. I do realize that, you know, I cannot grow acres and acres of corn and do it that way. However, I can cover crop. I can do things to build the soil. When we put our magnesium into that soil, it stays in that soil. That's the cool thing about it. So improving our soil, I just told you guys how Sandy Creek got its name. It's from the erosion of the open land, and it turns into sand, white sand, going into that creek. And erosion is our number one enemy as a farmer. We're losing farmland by letting it stay idle, by not putting cover crops on it. Most people around here that I know that are farmers, they'll cover crop. They'll, in the wintertime, most of them grow wheat. So they'll put wheat on it, and then they harvest that wheat off. And then they'll, you know, cut it up for hay. So, or for wheat straw. So, you know, this area, these guys do it better. There's a lot of places, though. I ride by fields all the time that are just sitting fallow. Matter of fact, when I went down to Florida the other week, there's fields and fields just out there.
Thank you for
just a few
choosing
weeds
Guthrie's.
growing.
Order when you're ready.
I'd like a 3-finger,
So team up with us and our network, and let us help you help the earth. I like that. I coined that. Go ahead, Doc. Okay. So Unite is a dedicated community of like-minded individuals, spark meaningful shifts in the global agricultural environment, revitalize, renew, and sustain our soil without deadly ideas. I'm sorry, deadly odds. I will not get into that, but it's the odds. Yeah, you know, herbicide. I like the way he puts it. Genocide, herbicide. I mean, you know, the odds. What is that?
That's that.
Create system that boosts yields, health, and taste. Regenerative use of our resources, both physical and financial. Grow more food in the same amount of space. Hey, that's a great idea. We're dedicated to becoming more intentional stewards of our lands, waters, and communities. So our next network meeting, it's a network meeting and farm to table meal, will be the first Thursday. First Thursday is at New Water Farm. Our next one will be June 4th, then July 2nd. Our third Thursdays are at Southern Prep, June 18th and July 16th. Free and paid workshop at New Water Farms. They have some, you have some things coming up, right?
We're working on
Yeah,
it.
Dr. Brandon's trying to put some things together. So some workshops and things like that. Join us for a deep dive discussions on soil health, how to read your soil, and what inputs may help create balance. Leave with a one season custom grow plan for your setup and the outgoing support of our network. And here's some educational resources. Doc kind of gets into that more than I do, discussing everything. Joel Salatin's on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has really sparked a lot of this stuff, you know. I have to give him credit for that. Will Harris, there's Gabe Brown. I like Gabe Brown. Gabe Brown suffers from, yeah, that's just the matter of fact. Here's his book right here, and he has from using so many chemicals. He has, what is it? Parkinson's disease from the use of the chemicals over the years before he became regenerative. And then this is some books of What Your Food Ate by David Montgomery, The Living Soil by E.B. Balfour, the documentaries Kiss the Ground. We did a documentary viewing this is how this thing kind of got started. We did a documentary viewing at Newater, and we started talking just like we are now about the magnesium and stuff. As Ryan and I were the panel, and boy, we got hammered that night with questions from people. I didn't expect all that. I was like, wow. Yeah, it was. So we kind of created this whole movement right there. And so Common Ground is that's the one we watched, right? Yeah, Common Ground. These are some great documentaries about the soil health and the condition of our soil in our country. So I think everybody should take a look at these things. All right, stay in contact with us. You can get in touch with our network team, AgriHarvest LLC at gmail.com. Dr. Brandon, Robert Brandon at newwater.com. Our team's always willing to answer questions, and we've got some great people on our team that can answer these questions. And you'll be talking to, when you email us, you'll be talking to Commander back there. He doesn't say a whole lot. Lieutenant Commander Robert. Robert puts these together with Allie, and they do a fine job. And he beats himself up because he put Mark instead of May. I think he was the only one that caught that. I didn't even see it either. But anyway, we have a great team going here. So share your regenerative agriculture experiences, your challenges, your successes. That's what we want you to do. We want you to try this product, be a beta tester for us, and come back and tell us. And hey, we'll put you right up here in front of everybody and give you a testimony. It's like church in here, man. You stand up and testify. And so anyway, I wish that was us, but it's not.
We'll get there. We'll get there. All right, we're going to take a few minutes and see if we can't get some folks here on the Zoom. That if anybody wanted to ask a question on Zoom, or you can unmute yourself, and we'll be able to hear you if you have any questions or comments or anything to add to that. I do want to say a couple of things for the June 4th meeting at Newater. We have a special guest speaker. Her name is Amy Weeks. She is a bee lady. She actually runs the Auburn Bee Lab, and she began as a practitioner. She had a honey industry. She had a honey business in South Louisiana. So she honey and value added, but she also raised and sold queen bees. She's a practitioner, but now she's an academician. She's running the Auburn Bee Lab. She'll be our featured speaker on June 4th meeting. So she's going to talk about the necessity of integration of not just bees, but pollinators in the regenerative ag system. So we're excited to have her on June the 4th. And then I just read this morning that the federal legislation has begun, out of necessity becomes invention, right? They have realized that America should be producing more of its own fertilizer. So there's legislation now to from incentives to build more fertilizer plants in the United States. But the part that caught my eye was more organic fertilizer production facilities in the United States. So not just make a bunch of synthetics, but looking at producing organic fertilizers. And also tell you that I'm part of that. I have a partner, and we're doing that venture. We actually have a meeting in Auburn this afternoon with some of their folks to look at producing an organic pelletized chicken litter fertilizer. Some folks are using it now. This producer, a friend of mine out of Texas, but we're looking at establishing a pilot plant in the state of Alabama. So we're excited about that. So there's lots of cool things happening. in development, and a lot of that's out of necessity. I mean, our fertilizer and price structures we got to figure something else out. Like maybe there's a different way out of the strait of, the strait that we should be. Well, who'd have thought that? We should find another way around. But now we got, hey, we need to be doing something for ourselves in our own country. So excited about that. Does anybody on the Zoom want to chime in and say anything?
Yeah, and this is Allie, down here in Belize. And one part of our project down here that we've been activated just this last 2 months, I think now, we have a community garden group with the kids, and almost all their parents are actually farmers. And most of them are monocrop farmers. Maybe a few years ago, they were part of a program where they were taught composting, but most of them were never taught how to turn physical composting into liquid fertilizer. And we're talking about adding water and straining it. We're not talking about reinventing the wheel here. So that's been our biggest endeavor lately. And I had a little bit of magnesium down here. Now, I don't have what Scotty has, but I had a little bit of magnesium chloride down here. And I had a farmer who put it on his habanero peppers, which is one of the primary peppers we grow down here. And he's got more blooms per plant than he's had previously. So he's really excited about that. And I've been teaching them about a concept where they could construct something in the ground where if they don't have to put in money for a new container to make their own fertilizer, just something where they can have a large amount of fertilizer right there on their land, because one of the biggest expenses of fertilizer is transporting all that liquid. So very excited to be part of the group, and thanks for instigating all of this.
I'll throw in 2 cents real quick. This is Buck. Good job for the folks who are on stage for the first time. So loved hearing that stuff. I'm going to copy the line about being a gardener, not a farmer. So I think we can get a lot of gardeners involved, and it's amazing how many gardeners know farmers. So thanks for everything going on today. Love the numbers. Good job, guys.
Hey, this is Jennifer. I just wanted, can you guys hear me okay? I'm in a weird area.
We can hear
Good.
you.
Okay, great. So this is a little bit of a testimonial for the application on your skin, which I know it's recorded, so I'm not going to say anything that this is just a suggestion. My daughter has severe autism, and with that comes a lot of physical issues. She has had some kind of weird rash on her right leg and foot. And I kind of figured out what it was. It has a very long name. But anyway, I've been just spraying it on with DMSO. And it's been, I want to say since y'all got that, I want to say 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And this huge patch on her foot that used to erupt into sores is almost entire. And now, years now that we've had this, it is almost. First of all, it's totally smooth. It's not erupting. There's no pain with it anymore, and there's a large area on her foot that is already it's receding. You can see that the whole thing is receding back. So you can actually see the color of her foot is right now.
I think that's our keys.
And so this has definitely helped it. And also, I'm learning so much from you all about being a gardener, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. It's been great for everything we've been doing at the house. And when I come, I'll send Allie pictures of both Hannah's foot and the gardening that we've done with the spray for the next meeting.
Awesome. Thank you.
We'll pass it back to you, Dr. Brandon.
All right. Well, Ryan, do you want to say anything? What's going on here and anything like that, or what your plans might be? Or all right, let me get Matthew. Real quick, Matthew will be presenting also on June the 4th. I've asked him just to briefly talk a little bit about what they're doing at the Girls Ranch and what he's learned here. And some of that's getting ready to be put into practice. So we'll have some things to show us at June 4th. Matthew, you want to tell the crowd what you're working on real quick?
So I'm Matthew. I think most of y'all know me. Maybe not everyone on Zoom knows me. But I work with Robert at New Water a little bit, and I work at the Tallapoosa County Girls Ranch. And we've got about 200 acres. We've got 23 head of cattle right now. 50 acres is pasture for the cows. We've got just our pastures are in pretty rough shape. We've got a lot of broom sedge, which is a sign of what is that a sign of? Poor nutrition. There's thistles, that's a sign of heavy compaction, and you can tell the compaction is just, it's that red clay is just hard as a rock. I'll have a picture to show at New Water next meeting, but I've got, some areas where I'm doing some regenerative practices. We used to do synthetic fertilizers, but we're swapping over to, we've got the chicken manure from Texas, the, what's it called? Viatrack. And about to put it out in a few pastures, see what it does. I've got a little bit of magnesium. I'm going to try to foliar spray in the pastures, and see what that does. And we might be using NutriPlant 643 probably next year, if not the year after. If not that, then the year after. But I'll have more pictures to show about what we're doing. And we're in our stage, kind of the early stages of swapping over from, using synthetics and herbicides in the pastures to swapping over to more regenerative practices. And a funny thing about the thistles, we're still kind of, testing it out to see if it's going to work good. But, we used to go in there and dig up the thistles, which is a lot of work, or spray them. But the cows, we found out they eat the blooms. And so if they eat the blooms before they seed out, then the seed, there won't be any seeds to reseed. But if they eat the blooms with the seeds in them, it'll pass through the cow and back in it. So you gotta make sure they graze it before the seeds are ready to go out. But they'll eat the tops, and then I mow the stalks. And we've got an area that's got, from here to Donna, right? Deborah. From here to Miss Deborah, there's probably 40 thistles, 30 or 40 thistles in a little area like this. And what I'm trying to do is, that's just gotten out of hand. What I'm trying to do is bale graze. I put a round bale in that area after I've mowed it down, and hopefully the grass seed will outcompete with thistles. So that's just some of the regenerative things we're trying out, as opposed to getting there and digging them all up. So we still have plenty if you want to eat the thistles. We've got plenty. Yeah. That's true. All right. Well, that's all I got, and I'll talk more next Thursday or next meeting.
Yeah, so Matthew brings a different context. We've been talking a lot about plant production and food production, but Matthew's looking at it from a livestock and grazing and pasture land. So it brings another piece to the opportunity. I'll say it that way. So looking forward to what he has to bring. So he's doing a great job out there. And I don't think any of us, when we're his age, would be able to do what he's doing. So I'm very proud of him. So yeah, Ryan, do you want to close us out with anything, or anybody got any questions, any more comments from the crowd? So we have an encore presentation by Deborah Clay, next meeting also on June 4th with Amy Weeks. So it's great to have some incredible female voices, right, speaking to us. So testimonials and education. So helping us all be better at what we do. So yeah, June 4th at New Water Farms, Amy Weeks and Deborah Clay. So yeah. And the great thistle harvest at the Girls Ranch. I'm sure he would trade onions for thistles. Anything else, Ryan, you want to close us out? If you have some spare moments, contact Ryan. He could use your help. Yeah, come on up, Ryan. Close us out, man.
This is only a third of them. Hey, Ryan Montgomery with Southern Preparatory Academy. We've got quite a bit going on. Working on getting some power and water to the greenhouse, and probably get a catch system for some rainwater. I'll tell you one thing I was thinking about with Robert. I know that the water we get out of the tap kills the good bacteria and the microbes in the soil. Like I had that, in my head. Like I knew that. And I was driving down the road and we had some transplants at Newater, and Robert called me and he said, "Hey, I'm watering your stuff with rainwater because I know you guys have got that stuff in the soil, so I didn't want to kill it." I was like, "Thank you, Robert." And we hung up and I drove probably another 3 miles, and then this light bulb went off in my head, and it was like, that water kills all the good bacteria and the stuff in your soil. Yeah, you drink it every day. Yeah. What do you think it does to your gut? Constantly, and it was like I knew all these things, but I never really connected it. So we're working on getting a rainwater catch basin for our, just kind of how our greenhouse is set up. We don't really have a good place to put a gutter or anything to catch the water. So got to try to work through some of that, and got some other projects going on. Got huge piles from a local arborist of some wood chips and other stuff for our garden bed and our compost piles. So that's a huge blessing. Right now, we're just looking for time to get out there and get into the dirt. Just want to thank everybody for joining us today, and for going through. It's almost overwhelming to even think about having the meeting just with all the things going on, but so glad we did it, and so glad everybody could join us. Thanks again.
That's all we got. Bill's got one more thing. Chaplain? Yes, sir. This guy's going to pronounce the benediction.
We're gonna have crackers to snack on, so fed with it. Again, I just want to thank everybody for coming today. I just got some great news, some pictures that we're gonna be adding. It's incredible. Can't wait to show everybody at the next meeting. The explosion of growth that Nick had on a raised bed, cantaloupe he did. Oh my goodness. But in just a few short weeks. Just incredible. Just the power of that magnesium and that NutriPlant mixed together. But anyway, so I'm gonna close this out with a quick prayer and we'll get on our way. Gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for this day, mighty God. I thank you for all the blessings you've given us, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for this meeting today, this group of people that's come together. Lord, I thank you, Heavenly Father, Lord, for letting us be good stewards of your land, mighty God, and letting us know, mighty God, that we're on the right track here. Lord, I ask you to continue to bless us in all of our endeavors, and be with everyone, Lord, and give them traveling mercies as they leave this place and go on out into their lives. I pray for their families. I pray for each and every person in this room. In Jesus Christ's name we pray, amen.
All right, everybody who's on the Zoom call, thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you at New Water Farms next month.
Thanks, Allie.
Bless you all. You have a great day.
You said you reported. Well. But, I mean. Oh,